Before we start today's episode, we just want to take a moment to acknowledge the passing of motorsport legend Kyle Busch. He is widely regarded as one of the most accomplished and talented drivers in motorsport history. He was a two-time NASCAR Cup Series champion, a future Hall of Famer, and one of the most successful drivers in NASCAR history. He had been preparing to race in the Coca-Cola 600 on Sunday at the Charlotte Motor Speedway before being hospitalized with a severe illness.
Busch had competed in the NASCAR Cup Series since 2004, making 762 career starts and earning 63 wins, 395 top 10s, and 35 poles. He won the NASCAR Cup Series championship in 2015 and 2019. Across NASCAR's 3 national series, Busch earned a record 234 total victories, 63 wins in the NASCAR Cup Series, 102 wins in the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series, formerly known as the NASCAR Xfinity Series, 69 wins in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. He also holds the all-time wins record in both the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series and the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series.
And after what would become his final NASCAR win, Kyle Busch was asked how many races he still wanted to win in his career, and his answer feels especially meaningful now. He said, "You take whatever you can get, man. You never know when the last one is going to be, so cherish them all. Trust me." Even though we mainly cover Formula One, motorsport is one big community, and this is a massive loss. Our thoughts are with his wife, Samantha, their children, his family, his team, and everyone in the NASCAR community. With that said, we'll move into our F1 race review.
He was like, phew! The Holy Spirit took over.
And no one cares about sprints.
I care about the sprint. McLaren
Is the world championship
hotline. I have some thoughts about that.
He's Max freaking Verstappen. He should always be on your radar.
We get to the juicy bits.
Love the juicy bits.
I'm not a scientist.
Overtake King.
Yeah.
That restart, by the way, from Oscar Piastri.
Cheeky.
Diabolical. There's been lots of drivers. It's hard to keep them all straight.
And we're live. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is why you're yelling. Welcome back to another F1 race review. Today we are talking about round 5 of the 2026 Formula One season, the Lenovo Grand Prix du Canada at Circuit Gilles Villeneuve.
Good job.
I did it so good. I'm very proud of that. I did
You should
practice.
be. Good for you. All right, so we have 2 podiums to go over, which I didn't realize it was a sprint weekend because this is the first sprint weekend we've had in Canada.
Mhm.
So I was like, whoops. Don't think I told you guys it was a sprint weekend, but you found out.
Yeah, we literally were looking at the calendar for planning stuff. And then I was like, it's a sprint. And she said, no, it's not. And I'm like, girl, I'm looking at the calendar. It's a sprint weekend. I don't know what to tell you. She's like, no, it's not.
It was first time. It definitely was.
Yeah.
Okay, so our sprint podium, we have George Russell, Lando Norris, and Kimi Antonelli. And then our GP podium is Kimi Antonelli, Lewis Hamilton, and Max Verstappen.
That was very fun.
Oh my gosh. We'll get into it.
Don't you worry.
For our constructors standings, we only had one team move. We had Racing Bulls. They moved from 7th to 6th, overtaking Haas. Now for the driver standings, we've had some shuffling. Lewis Hamilton moved from 5th to 4th, overtaking Lando Norris. Pierre Gasly moved from 9th to 8th, overtaking Oliver Bearman. Isaac Hadjar moved from 13th to 12th, overtaking Arvid Lindblad. Carlos Sainz moved from 14th to 13th, also moving ahead of Arvid Lindblad. And last but not least, we have Lance Stroll, who moved from 22nd to 21st, overtaking Fernando Alonso.
Who was his teammate?
Who was his teammate who retired the car.
Yeah.
Yay!
We'll get to Fernando when we get to the Aston Martin section. But I'm just like, I feel like we're just retiring the car because he's like, I have a cough. Like, you know, when you're like, I'm going to call out of work because I have a cough.
Fernando's like, what the fuck are we doing?
He's like, the steering wheel was not right, so I just didn't want to drive it. Like, it felt a little...
I honestly don't even know why I don't even know what happened. I just 1 second and he was in the top 10 and then he wasn't.
Yeah.
And I was like, where'd he go?
So before we get into our individual team and driver breakdowns, what are your overall feelings and thoughts about the Canadian Grand Prix?
Euphoric. Favorite race, favorite weekend of the entire season so far. I mean, it was just good. The racing was good. Obviously, I'm ridiculously ecstatic because Lewis just came in swinging. He brought his mama. She's going to have to come to every race now.
Yes.
We're not kidding.
You better be there.
And it was just so exciting. Even though one thing I 100% learned from this race is I would have never survived 2021. I literally, Anna came over to watch the race.
Mm-hmm.
She made us food. We ate. It was fun.
Yep.
So at first, and we'll get into Mercedes and their battles, and that was fun for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you something.
The last like 20 laps.
I felt my heart beating because I'm like, so Max at one point overtook Lewis, but so Lewis is on the hunt.
Mm-hmm. He's chasing him down.
He's got the podium,
Mm-hmm.
but he's on the hunt, and he's getting closer and he's getting closer, and I'm like, oh God, not Max and Lewis, not Max and Lewis, not Max and Lewis.
Because
can't.
we are, flashbacks to 2021, we're like, these two are gonna like kill each other.
And this is before I watched like Formula One, before we watched Formula One religiously or anything.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, this is all
we know about Max and Lewis battling is that they are cutthroat and they do not like give each other space. Like they just go for it.
I like to go watch old races. There are a few seasons sometimes I've been following, like whenever I have free time and I want to race on. I can't pick that one because I'm sitting next to Anna and I feel my heart.
She was literally on the edge of the couch.
It was like
literally like hands in front of her, like just like could not.
I had these crossed and then I was like this.
She was very stressed out and I'm just like chilling. I'm like, okay. I'm like, Charles isn't going to do anything. He's in no man's land. He's like P4. We're fine. And then she's just like stressing.
Yeah. I was at the point where I'm like, I'm going to sweat soon.
Yeah.
It was so stressful. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Lewis killed it. Loved seeing it. Was so happy. And then obviously good on Kimi and George. They put on a great show and a lot of other good performances. But obviously as a Lewis stan, I was very happy.
Yeah, I think we got some really good racing this weekend. I think the sprint was actually entertaining. Like that was a nuts sprint. I mean, Kimi and George were like going at it. I mean, Kimi making the lunges and making it very entertaining for us because we were texting both watching the sprint.
Mm-hmm.
That's normally for context, it's normally how we watch races is separately, but we'll text back and forth during.
Yeah.
And reacting in real time to what's happening. And we're just like blowing up the chat, like just back and forth, like, oh my God.
There's multiple texts.
Yeah. So it was just very entertaining, an entertaining sprint where sprints can sometimes be a little boring. We had a little bit of rain, a little bit of, I won't even say really rain. It was like dampness on the track.
Oh, for the main one?
Yeah. But it was overall, I think that, I want to say it was maybe Toto Wolff that they asked him, do we think that with the adjustments the FIA have allowed for the cars and the regulations, do we think that, after Canada, do we see that those adjustments are working and making for better racing? And I want to say it was Toto Wolff that said, I think Canada is uniquely suited for these regulations to produce great racing, but I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the case at every track we go to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, kind of agree. I mean, I don't, time will tell. We'll wait and see what happens. But Canada is always, I feel like it's always one of the more enjoyable races because the weather is temperamental. It's typically a little bit cooler. So the tire issue is, tires are more temperamental. We get, some unexpected winners sometimes and people breaking through. So, just overall, I enjoy Canada. Lewis Hamilton said it's his like second favorite track outside of Silverstone. And he had a really good race weekend. I mean, this is one of George Russell's best tracks that he performs at consistently. So, yeah, I mean, just overall, great vibes.
Yeah,
Loved it.
Loved it.
Great race weekend.
Agreed.
Moving into our team and driver breakdowns and reviews. So we'll start with Mercedes, and we had Kimi Antonelli in P1. Fun fact, this was Antonelli's fourth consecutive Grand Prix win, making him the first driver in Formula One history to win his first 4 Grand Prix consecutively.
Good on Kimi.
Yeah, I mean, if he keeps going, he's just going to keep extending that streak. So he
did a great job.
He got ahead early after George Russell's slow start from pole.
Which, Lando, like, he was up front first because he sort of, like, those intermediates, for whatever reason, they gripped up. He was able to go. I mean, it didn't last long. But
no, it wasn't good for the long term. And I will say that Mercedes seems to have kind of figured out their starts. We saw that the previous race that they were better. I think their starts were still decent.
Yeah.
Not as good as McLaren. McLaren and Ferrari, I think, still have a lock on the race starts, but Mercedes is getting there. They're getting better. But yeah, so Kimi spent the first stint in a close, clean fight with George Russell, with the lead changing hands multiple times. And then, once George retired with the power unit issue, Kimi controlled the race from the front.
Yeah,
I mean, there was just no, and honestly, the battling, but if they hadn't been battling each other, they would have easily had, a 20-plus second lead on, the next cars behind them.
That was just good racing. It was just, this is what you want to see. You want to see people
side by side, wheel to wheel action.
The whole time, where you're like, is he about to do it now? Is he about to do it now? It was crazy.
Literally the first, 25 laps of the race, I was stressed out because I'm like, they're going to crash. They're going to, they're going to touch wheels and somebody's going to, and I mean, it was just really entertaining. It was fun to watch.
Yes.
There were stakes. It was just great. I think that, talking about, comparing the two drivers, we've got George Russell, who's, 28 years old. You would consider the more senior driver on the team, got a lot more experience. We've got Kimi Antonelli, the young upstart who's in his second season in Formula One. He's only 19 years old. He's in the lead for the championship now.
Yeah.
And I think that when you look at the way that they were driving through the sprint and the Grand Prix, I think that George's maturity as a driver showed.
Yeah.
His racecraft and his technical experience and skill really shined through. He was patient when he needed to be. He attacked appropriately. He defended appropriately. He did not make it easy for Kimi to pass him.
No.
Kimi at times seemed a little desperate in some of the moves he was attempting to make. He was just aggressive, which isn't a bad thing.
No.
That's what you want from your driver. You want them you want them attacking. You want them to go for the move that maybe not everyone would necessarily have the confidence to go for.
Yeah.
I mean, at one point, George even said, there's no way you would overtake in that corner around the outside. That's just not going to happen. And then Kimi Antonelli responded and said, I think you can overtake on the outside on any corner. It's just, will it work? It's just a matter of the driver. He's like, I think you can make it anywhere. And I'm like, okay, all right, calm down.
I think that was a little bit, it's very, very difficult to overtake on the outside.
Yeah.
But, which we'll get into because I want to break that down a little bit. This had mostly to do with the sprint because the GP, as exciting as it was, the Grand Prix, very exciting. I would say it was a little toned down on maybe the desperation on Kimi's part. The sprint, yes.
He was making lunges. He was trying to almost bully his way into the lead. It felt like it was just, again, very aggressive, assertive, came across as desperate because, again, he just wasn't showing the patience that you might need to set up a pass. He was just going for any available opportunity, and it cost him.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of contact at one point. He was, Kimi was going over gravel and in the grass, and he was all over the place. And you're like, what are we doing?
Well, yeah, and anytime you're doing that, you're getting debris on your tires, getting debris on the track, and then you're affecting the contact pad. There's so much that just goes into it where it's
it felt sloppy.
Yeah, it just felt like it wasn't even, he had the pace to do what he wanted to do in the sprint, but it just felt like he was impatient.
Yeah. And that, I think, shown in the main race where, again, it was a little cleaner between the two battling. But in the main race, even Kimi said, I think, in the post-race press conference that, they had asked him, if George had been able to continue the race and not had to, didn't have that engine failure, or what was it, a gearbox failure or something. He had an issue with the car. Through no fault of his own. It was a reliability issue. But they basically asked Kimi, if George had been able to continue the race, who do you think would have won? And Kimi's like, it's kind of, I hate when they ask these hypotheticals because I'm like, you don't know.
I love what Max said.
Yeah.
If my mom had balls, she'd be my dad.
Yeah.
What if?
Sands and butts, yeah. But Kimi was like, it's hard to say because, George had the pace initially and was defending really well.
Yeah.
But he's like, I had the pace, and he did. Kimi had the pace later on as we got further into the race. Right before George retired, Kimi was putting real pressure on George. And so, would Kimi have given enough time? Could Kimi have made the pass and committed to it and kept the lead? Maybe.
Yeah, I hate those questions too because I feel like it's so sometimes it feels like those questions just try to diminish the other person. Like, and it just feels like, I feel like George overall had a really strong weekend. He had sprint pole. He had the Grand Prix pole. He won the sprint. And he was doing a really good job in the Grand Prix up until the power unit or the gearbox, whatever. The car had a failure in it. And, you know, George, I really enjoyed, they had a ghost lap at one point during qualifying that showed where George, like, he was later on the brakes going into certain corners, especially at the Wall of Champions, and he was quicker out of the corner. And it's hard to say, because when you're defending, you're driving different. So it's like, at which point, even if Kimi were to overtake him, who's to say George then can't relax and then just it be a switchback? Like it's such a question that's built to kind of just like cause contention between them, and it's just pointless to me.
It's just to get the drivers to try to say something that you can make a headline out of.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Exactly.
So I hate these hypotheticals.
Yeah, it's like,
and the drivers, you can tell they hate the hypotheticals too. They're like, we don't know.
There's no way to answer it without feeling disrespectful, I feel like. And I don't think that's what they want to do. Yeah. There is one thing I want to talk about briefly for Mercedes before we move on. There was a lot of chitter chatter online during the sprint race where there came a point where at turn 1, I don't know which lap this was, but you guys, if you Google it, you'll find out. Kimi and George are battling. Going into turn 1, Kimi tries to overtake on the outside. George,
this is during the sprint.
This is during the sprint race. George drifts a little wide. Kimi feels like he's squeezed and is like, I was alongside at the mirror, and he was naughty, that whole thing. So basically, he's upset because he's trying to overtake George Russell on the outside. He isn't able to. He feels like George pushes him off the track despite what he feels he was ahead at the apex. So there's something, and a lot of the chitter chatter online is very much like he should have been investigated. There should have been an incident, that was an incident that people feel should have been investigated. However, it was not. And so the publication The Race talked about, it actually, they found out later, the stewards did look at it briefly, but then decided not to investigate it further or even note it. But I feel like a lot of people need to consider something, and it's not something that I think is talked about a lot because you don't see a lot of overtaking on the outside. So I think people are taking a lot of what the rules are when you overtake on the inside and applying that to the outside, and it's not the same. So I want to take a moment and just say how they're different. So the FIA judges inside and outside overtakes differently. For an inside move, the attacking car generally needs to have its front axle alongside the other car's mirror, which is why you hear Antonelli saying, I was at his mirror. However, that is not how an outside overtake is judged. Your front axle has to be in front of the other car's axle or alongside at the apex, and they're also judging, are you in control of your car, and were you going to make the corner anyway, essentially? And when they looked at that, they decided that it just seemed more like a racing incident than anything else. So I feel like a lot of people just get on this bandwagon of like unfairness, and that's unfair. Of course, it's always a British driver thing. Of course, they don't investigate the British driver. I don't think that's what this incident was. I think that was just a lot of adrenaline, and it just was what it was. So I just wanted to clarify, they do judge inside and outside overtakes differently. I don't think, it doesn't feel like an incident that should have been investigated with that context in mind to me. So that's just my 2 cents about it.
Yeah, I mean, watching it live, my initial impression of what happened there is that Kimi attempted an aggressive move. He didn't make the corner. George was already ahead. He maintained his racing line, as he has the right to do. And then Kimi went off track, trying not to hit him. Like, that's what happened. It's just racing incident. Like,
yeah, I don't know that any footage clearly showed Antonelli ahead with his axle alongside or ahead of George's at the apex or going into the apex and maintaining it at the apex. But it's also a lot harder there's so many things that like the stewards actually do consider. What can the driver ahead see? What can't they see? Who has more of a responsibility? Things like that, right? And I just feel like it's one of those things that it looks more like a racing incident than anything else. And meh. I feel like everybody's being very dramatic with it online, and I found that very annoying.
Yeah. So talking about George Russell's race. So we talked mainly about Kimi. Talking about George, he started from pole in the main race, but lost places to Kimi Antonelli and Lando Norris at the start. He recovered and battled Kimi for the lead throughout the first stint, and his race ended around lap 30 with a power unit issue while he was leading. I mean, and it was still a strong weekend for him.
Yeah.
Like you said, he still had a great weekend. It just was very unfortunate that it ended that way. And he did make a comment in one of his post-race interviews where he said, it kind of just feels like somebody doesn't want me to win.
Yeah, I remember
He's like,
hearing him say that.
there's some problem or another, it seems like every weekend where something doesn't go my way. And he's like, somebody out there just doesn't want me to win. And I'm like, I don't disagree.
Yeah, at some point I'm like, they do have a lot of remote control over these cars in the paddock. What's happening here?
Yeah.
What's going on in pit lane?
Yeah. So with all of that said, Mercedes is still firmly in the lead in the Constructors' Championship. Kimi did extend his lead in the Drivers' Championship significantly over George. I think it's like 49 points now.
Yeah, that was more they were talking about in the post-race drivers' press conference or whatever, how that's an even bigger lead than what Lando and Oscar had last year.
At any point last year, yeah. So we'll see if George can overcome that. I mean, it would take a lot to overcome that. It would be George consistently finishing first in sprints and main races, and Kimi having some bad luck and not finishing, P2 basically.
Yeah.
So
we'll see.
We'll see what happens. It's very interesting. Everything's heating up.
It's getting quite intense.
Yeah. So now we'll talk about Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton finished P2. Fun fact, this was Hamilton's best result of the season so far. This is his best result with Ferrari since he's been there. This is his second season with Ferrari. This is his second podium in a main race, in a Grand Prix with Ferrari as well.
Oh my God.
So, he had a strong start at the beginning of the race, got ahead of Oscar Piastri to move into third. He stayed close enough to the Mercedes fight early on before later coming under pressure from Max Verstappen. We talked a little bit about the Verstappen-Hamilton battle. It was kind of a little bit back and forth.
It was.
Very entertaining, very nerve-wracking for you personally.
Yeah. Personally, I thought I was going to pass out. Yeah, at this point, too, like the Mercedes, it was funny because it was like Mercedes, it was like they were in 2016. Between Nico and Lewis. And then all of a sudden, when that wasn't a thing anymore because of George's power unit issue or something was wrong with the car, it then shifts to the battle behind. And I'm like, and now it's Lewis and Max. Oh my God, 2021. I can't deal with this.
And what's so interesting is that Max and Lewis seem to have matured significantly in their relationship with each other in terms of their respect for each other and how friendly they are.
Yeah.
It's such a complete difference compared to when they were battling head to head for the championship in 2021. That now they're like, when they were talking in the post-race press conference, they both talked about the battle they had with each other in the Grand Prix, and they both said it was fun. They're like, they really enjoyed it. They had some good passes and moments, and Lewis was glowing. Like, I feel like the whole weekend he just had a twinkle in his eye.
He was so happy.
He was just talking about how much fun he had. And he did make a note that he didn't do any sim work before the race. And he said he said it in a very specific way. They asked him if he's going to do any more sim work this season. He's like, he's like, I'll definitely do my job for the team in terms of, after a race weekend. I'll get on the sim and give them notes about what it actually felt like driving in certain parts of the track and whatnot, so that they can then update the simulator to make sure that it's actually representative of what's happening in real life, because that's the point of the simulator. And so he's like, I'll do that in terms of helping the team develop the simulator and, push forward in that respect. But he's like, in terms of using it for race preparation personally, he's like, no.
Yeah.
He's like, I likely will not. He's like, it is a tool to be utilized, and it's a great tool for people who want to use it in that way.
Yeah.
He's like, I the last like 2 races that I have performed really well, I didn't use a simulator beforehand. And he's like, I'm just going to keep rocking that way. And he said he feels like much more like it's still not, he said it's still not natural.
Yeah.
In terms of the way they drive the cars now. But he said it's getting better, I think, for him in terms of getting used to it.
Yeah. He had a really good, so before the racing in the weekend, he was asked about the no simulator work. And I thought his answer was interesting because I feel like some articles tried to paint it like this was a new thing that he was doing at Ferrari with sim work, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
So he was actually talking about how he was in a simulator in like 1997 or 99, something like that, with McLaren. Like, was one of the very first ones, and like was helping develop it, and then like kind of kept doing that through the 2000s. And then, you know, there's sim work has always been there. It's just never been something that he felt. He said one time in 2012 did he have the same setup from the sim to the car that he won the race, and that it was it just wasn't something that translated to him on track. Like, there's things to be utilized from it. A lot of it was, he was also saying things that like they can then correlate from, like you said, like what was it like on track, putting it in the simulator, and also maybe seeing what things, you know, what data can be computed, and like where could we have maybe done things differently or things like that. But he wasn't like, I'm not opposed to sim work. It's just not something that I feel is good for me and my driving style, and like having to unlearn all this muscle memory essentially that you've been doing. And now you get here and it's not working.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's comparable to other athletes in the way that they prepare for matches, competition, sport, whatever, in that some athletes like to over prepare. They want to, you know, repeat every single thing that they do because they want to like get into the muscle memory aspect of it. And that they feel that preparation helps them to execute and perform on the day of. And there are other athletes who think that over preparing actually messes with their mojo in a way, that like to over prepare means that their body and their mind is not in it's harder for them to get into like a flow state or to be able to adapt to changes and things when they come about, you know, in the midst of competition. So, I mean, it's just different strokes for different folks.
Yeah.
I mean, it just is what it is.
I agree.
But yeah, so Lewis had a great weekend.
He did.
Now let's talk about my boy, Charles Leclerc.
I mean, P4's very respectable.
Listen, I think that the sort of weekend he had is not reflected in the actual like results that he had. So I think that he performed better, or the end result was better than what he felt his performance showed, maybe.
Yeah.
So, you know, he finished P4 in the main race. Charles just had a rough weekend.
Yeah. At one point he says, it's P8 or I'm in the wall. Like when you're talking about qualifying, they're like, all right, P8, we're in. He goes, that's pretty much the best you're going to get for me.
Literally. He's like, I can't push this anymore. So he just kind of struggled the whole weekend, never really got comfortable with the car. And that's really, you know, especially he's known as like a qualifier.
Yeah.
Like he's like Mr. Saturday. He's an exceptional qualifier. Give him a car that's halfway decent and he can do some things with it qualifying. He was not able to really get it going in qualifying. He said he was struggling with tire performance throughout the race. You know, but even with those issues, he did, you know, fight back and passed Hadjar to finish P4. He said he wants to look at Lewis's data to understand why Lewis was able to do so much better with the same car.
Me going, hand it over. If I'm going to be teammate with the 7-time world champ, hand it over right now.
Give it to me. I want the data.
I need it right now.
Yeah. So overall feeling for Ferrari, we're encouraged by the forward steps that we've made. Lewis was talking very highly about, you know, team principal Fred. What's his name? Vasseur.
First of all, Fred tickled himself with his Luigi joke over the radio to Lewis. Somebody said, did you call him OG something? He goes, Luigi. And he's dying laughing. Like, I love Fred. Like, Fred is like, and I guess because of the Mario Kart references. And so he called him Luigi.
That's funny.
And I'm like, this is very funny. Fred thought he was hysterical.
Yeah.
Like, he loved his own joke.
He's like, ah ha ha. So yeah, just overall mood is, what's the word? It's hopeful for Ferrari. We're making some progress. I was saying that Lewis was very complimentary to the team as a whole, to Fred Vasseur, saying that, you know, Fred has made it possible that they've made some changes. And one of those is Lewis's engineer, his race engineer.
He loves him.
Is like glowing, talking about like, I love working with him. It's great. And I'm just like, okay, all right. This is way better than the engineer you hated. The two you had, was it two you had last season or one?
No, he just had.
Was it just the one?
He had the same one Carlos Sainz had.
Yeah, he was not vibing with that engineer at all. But you know, that engineer got moved into a different role within Ferrari, and Lewis has a different one now, and he's very happy with him. But yeah, so, solid weekend for Ferrari.
Yeah.
Optimistic that we're making some forward progress. We got to figure out our straight line speed.
Come on,
We
guys.
are slow as shit. I'm part of the team.
We
are
slow.
We are slow as shit on the straights. Our starts are good. Our corners are fine. It's the straights that are fucking
now
up.
we can't even rely on our starts anymore. They're catching
Yeah.
up. So get it together. Now I know
Gotta get faster.
I'm gonna have to do some research into this potential rule change for certain certain power units. They're gonna be given like something about more power. I don't really know all the rules. I keep seeing people talk about it, and I know Lewis mentioned it in the post-race press conference as well. So I won't really touch on that because I don't really know. And they kind of talked about it a little bit in one of the pre-race shows or pre-qualifying. Who knows? One of the pre-shows. But I don't know everything about it yet, and I haven't looked at it all yet. So I mean, maybe we're gonna see something there. I don't know, but yeah, Ferrari, this was a good weekend. But at the same time, as happy as I am, I've been warned so many times. So, but to me,
don't get ahead of yourself. Cart before the horse and all that. Like, don't do it.
I'm like, I don't know.
You cannot. This is the trap. This is the Ferrari trap.
But see, okay,
We're currently on an incline toward a peak. We're waiting for the drop.
But here's the question. If I'm just like, yes, is me believing in Lewis and being happy about Lewis, does that translate to the team as well? Like, how does that work? Like, does that mean I'm like, so like, no matter how much, so basically it's like a driver can be great, but Ferrari's just going to let them down. Like, that's the curse.
Yes. The curse is that, like, in the past with Charles, it's been like, Charles is a great driver. He can do so much, but then Ferrari fucks him. Somehow, some way, they do something stupid with strategy or with the setup of the car or with a pit stop call or something, and they just fuck him. And you're like, this is the clown car that we are in that is Ferrari. So I'm not being a Debbie Downer. I'm not being pessimistic. I'm just saying, temper your expectations.
Lewis, fix it. If anyone's going to fix it, Lewis, be like, no more clown cars around here. Oh gosh, but yay for us.
Let's talk about Red Bull.
I was happy about that too.
Yeah, so we had Max Verstappen finishing P3. He got the podium. This was his first podium of the season.
Thank God.
He had a strong race after a mixed weekend. He chased down and passed Hamilton during the race before losing the position later on. Even with tire temperature issues, he stayed close to Hamilton in the final laps and finished just half a second off of P2. It was a very close finish.
I love Max. Let me put it. But Max is the driver that was not meant to be my driver
But
in my head, but like he is. But that's because I fucking love Red Bull. Like I love the Red Bull brand. I love what Red Bull does across all different motorsports. So to me, like, I know I have a Ferrari jacket, but I love as a team, I love Red Bull.
They say your driver picks you. You don't pick your driver. You tried to pick Lewis Hamilton as your driver.
Lewis is my driver.
And you're clinging on to that. But the universe, the driver lottery, wants Max Verstappen to be your driver.
He is my driver as well, but Lewis is like my driver.
It's like your tier system.
Let me put it this way. I know Lewis is my driver because he's behind Max, and I'm like, get the fuck past him.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, get past him. But if Lewis ain't in the fight, I want Max.
Max is like your backup.
This was my perfect podium. Like they were both there, and both happy and both awesome.
And Lewis was ahead.
But if you were to tell me who do I want number one, I want Lewis. That's just how it is. But that being said, I love Max.
Yeah.
So so them battling is very stressful for me.
Yeah.
Not mostly because I do love them both. But they're both my drivers, and I guess 2021 as well. So maybe that's why I was about to have a panic attack.
Yeah, you're like, wait, my children are fighting.
No, don't do that.
Now let's talk about our other Red Bull driver, Isaac Hadjar. He finished P5. He had a strong start and finished 5th despite a messy race. He picked up 2 in-race penalties, including one while fighting Charles Leclerc and another for a yellow flag infringement.
It's a hard thing to say.
Yes. And even with the penalties costing him time, he still held on to 5th at the flag. He said Red Bull took a big step forward from Miami, even though the car was harder to drive in race.
Yeah, I feel like with Isaac, I think he also had a stop and go penalty at some point, didn't he?
He was getting penalties left and right.
I think, and one of those will be on his license, is what I heard them saying on the. I think Joyland was talking about that. So I don't know. Isaac, finished 5th. Great for Red Bull, but just a little sloppy at times. And some people did not agree that he should have got a penalty for that move with Charles Leclerc. Something that, and we were talking about this while we're sitting on my couch. Joyland Palmer, who is a commentator for F1 TV and a former Formula One driver, he was saying that because there's lights on the back of the car. And so at one point, Isaac he goes to defend. And I feel like that was the second time he went to go defend.
It's like moving under braking.
And you're only allowed to change positions to defend one time.
Yeah.
You can't do it twice. Otherwise, everybody would do it and you would basically never have anybody pass anybody.
Yeah, you can't. There's only so much you can move under braking.
Yeah.
And then because it becomes dangerous. And they're like, you can't do that.
And so Joyland was sort of saying that he felt like a penalty wasn't deserved because Charles could see that Isaac was slowing down. But I think something that we're not considering here is how these cars function with their power. So we go back, I reference Ollie Behrman and Franco Colapinto again, where he's slowing down, but Ollie's car was not, because of how the power was being deployed, and that's what caused that delta. I feel like that's easily what probably happened here and why Charles gained so much on Isaac in that moment. And that's something to consider with these regulations. It's because of how the power is deployed. You might have someone who's braking and the other person's not because of their power deployment, and because of how quickly you're gaining when you're using that power. It's just, that's something that we have to consider when giving these penalties and when looking at incidents. I felt like that's what they did, and I kind of felt like it was deserved because you got to be. It's not last year. It's not the ground effect era. It's not even the eras before that. How these cars deploy their power is significantly different than last year.
Yeah. So another fun fact, this was Red Bull's first podium with its own powertrain.
Yay, Red Bull!
Which is
And
cool,
Ford!
yeah, it's a cool milestone for them. But yeah, so ultimately, Red Bull's kind of like moving in the right direction. There's still some room for improvement to kind of start closing the gap to Mercedes and Ferrari.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they're, trucking in the right direction.
I agree. Good for Red Bull.
Now let's talk about our surprise performance of the weekend, I think.
I agree.
Alpine.
What's happening?
What in the world? These little pink cars are doing it.
Well, we say that if we go back to preseason testing, they were up there with Haas.
Yeah, I mean, this is front of the midfield.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
solidly.
That's what we said based on how it went, what we were predicting, and here it is. Franco Colapinto, he did great in Miami. Something to note for Miami, which we talked about, that was the first time he ever drove that track because Jack Doohan was still in the seat in 2024. 25, yes, in 2025. So Franco had no experience at Miami, did a really good job. And then in Montreal here, I mean, P6, that's crazy.
This was his best finish in Formula One.
Yeah, so even better than any finish he had with Williams.
Yeah, so he rounded out a strong weekend with 6th place. He ended up leading the midfield after Arvid Lindblad failed to start and held that position through the race.
Yeah,
that is something we forgot to mention. We'll get there.
We'll get there when we get to Racing Bulls, yeah.
So he had a scary moment exiting the pits when he clipped the wall, but the damage did not slow him down.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, he said that Alpine maximized the race and built on the performance they showed in Miami. So, I mean, just like solid weekend for Franco.
I love it.
I like this because last year
we were kind of talking some smack. Even earlier this year, we're like, what's happening?
What are we doing? Because he had such a strong start with Williams and showed some promise, and he showed a little bit of like chutzpah. Like he showed a little bit of fighting spirit.
He showed so much fighting spirit. We were like, he's going to Brazil. He's going to be a little Senna Junior in 2025, 2024.
Yeah.
In 2020, that's not going to happen. But I mean, that's how much he was like impressing everybody.
And then
at the time.
Last year, he took over the seat for Jack Doohan at Alpine, and then it just nosedive. It felt like in performance, but I think we can confidently say that that's attributed to the car. The car was shit last year.
Last season, 100%. And we were basically saying like last season, essentially, it's just give him a whole season to just train and test a Formula One car and just be in it and just being in that.
Get experience on race, like running a race weekend on the track. Like that's essentially what last season had to be for Franco and Alpine.
Yeah.
And then, you see the Drive to Survive season that came out right before this Formula One season started. And then we've got, Flavio Briatore. He's acting in a team principal role, even though I don't think he's technically the team principal in name. He's acting in the team principal role.
He's the team principal.
He comes across like a Bond villain. We've said before that he comes across as evil. Like
he does, but you know what? I've been thinking a lot about this. He knows what he's doing. He's part of the old guard. That's what they called it, right? And it's like he's won multiple championships.
Yeah.
He did it with Alonso. He did it with Michael Schumacher. And I'm like, maybe he is, maybe he isn't.
Maybe he just has a different style of leading that I don't particularly enjoy, the bits and pieces that I've seen. But I mean, something's working. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. I guess that's what it is it's like, it's clearly something that he's done or implemented or been a part of. Or we could always say maybe it was going to happen, but it's working right now.
Yeah. And so, but there was a moment watching that Drive to Survive, that episode where he's basically telling Franco, like, you suck and you need to do better. Like, literally, he basically said that to him. He's like, this is unacceptable. And like, what are we doing?
I mean, maybe.
He like chewed him out.
Yeah. And well, because he's like, maybe we need, because Franco at one point said something like, maybe we can try this. And he goes, no. And
you don't tell me what we need to try.
I feel like part of that, though, is someone told me this not too long ago. They were like, I feel like a lot of people don't know what it's like to have a coach. Mm-hmm. They're used to having a best friend or somebody just hype them up or do all these things and not somebody go, that's fucking trash. You need to do better. You need to do better and put that responsibility onto you if it belongs to you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, maybe that's what a case of what this is. I mean, it's two different ways to do it. I don't know what I say that. I do feel like Jack Doohan got screwed, but that's a whole different subject. But we did see Jack Doohan again, so that was nice on the F1 broadcast, talking to everybody. But I don't know. Either way, Colapinto killed it. He did a really good job. And we're just like, stay up there, man.
Yeah, we're like, wait, because we, occasionally we'll run through the leaderboard and say, okay, where are some of these drivers at? Because, you're so focused on the battle at the front or what they're showing on the TV. You're like, okay, where's everyone else at?
Yeah.
And then you check in and you're like, Franco's still in the top 10?
Exactly.
What? Okay, go Franco.
Yeah, me and Anna are psycho. So when we watch a Formula One race, whether we're together or we're not, we both have iPads. So we have like the main broadcast, then we have the data. So for those, if you're an Apple TV person who's watching it, or you're watching it through Netflix because they're doing certain races now,
or you're watching on Sky Sports or whatever.
However, F1 TV, that you can get in there and you can pick how you want to watch it, whether it's a driver's on board, whether it's
it's called a multi-viewer.
Yeah, multi-viewer.
So basically, they have all these different views and camera angles of the race. So you can watch the main broadcast. But you can also pull up another screen. You can have it inset. You can have 2, 3, 4 different screens at the same time going. You can have just one main screen, but you can pick what it is.
Yeah.
So they have the data, which we love to have pulled up, which shows like what tires they're on, when they change the tires, how long they've been on a set of tires. It shows their lap times. It breaks it down into sectors.
It used to.
It used to. They didn't this past race, but it shows you their fastest lap time, what their current lap time is, how fast they're going. So you can kind of see if someone's like gaining on somebody.
You can see more clearly like the gap to the leader, the gap to the car in front of them. Mm-hmm. And it breaks it down into the thousands. Like I know it hasn't always been doing that on the main broadcast, but my point is it's there if you want to see it. But that's how we watch it. So we're sitting there going, look at Colapinto.
Yeah. And it was just fun for us that was a fun moment.
Yeah.
To be like, go Colapinto.
I agree.
And then we have our other Alpine driver, Pierre Gasly, finished P8.
Thank God. Because I feel like Pierre just has been on the back foot for a second. And I was like, okay, both Alpines in the top 10, love it.
And Pierre Gasly is one of those drivers I think is underrated.
100%.
I think that he can do a lot better than what he's had the opportunity to show.
Yes.
I mean, he's, a contemporary of Charles Leclerc. Like, and that whole group of drivers.
Yeah,
like,
all of them.
All of them entered Formula One relatively around the same time. They grew up driving together. He's a contemporary of theirs.
Yes.
And I think he is also a quality driver up to that level. He just hasn't been able to show it.
Yeah.
He is one of my underrated drivers.
I agree.
But, so this race, he had a disappointing qualifying result, but he recovered well, climbed through the field, brought home points. He had a late battle with Liam Lawson for P7, but just couldn't really get past him.
Yeah.
And Pierre Gasly said it was a good damage limitation result, but he still struggled with the car and wants the team to understand why.
Yeah.
Which, if we're struggling with a car, but still at the head of the midfield and finishing P8 in the points, I mean, I feel like
that's a pretty good accomplishment.
I mean, we're okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
Don't panic, but we're okay.
Nobody panic.
Nobody panic.
Everything's fine, guys.
Yeah, so fun fact for Alpine, they scored 12 points in Canada with both cars finishing in the points.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Now they're never going to find a team principal. Like, Flavio's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
He's not the team principal, but he basically is.
We're going to talk about Racing Bulls.
Mm-hmm.
But I do want to start with Arvid Lindblad. He had a DNS.
So sad.
Do not start. So basically what had happened was they did the formation lap. All the cars get lined up back on the grid. They wave the green flag at the back that signals that they can start the countdown with the lights. They do the countdown with the lights, and they have there's a certain amount of time they allow them basically to rev the engines to get them going. And then the lights are supposed to go out. Well, Arvid couldn't shift his car from neutral into gear. And so he basically like called something over the radio or flagged somebody down, waved his arm, something basically indicating that he wasn't going to be able to start when the lights went out. And so they had to do an extra formation lap. They did one extra formation lap while they tried to get him off the track. They ended up doing a second extra formation lap. And because there's limited, they can't refuel these cars and they have limited fuel within them. They basically, those two extra formation laps counted as 2 of the laps in the race. So we went from doing 70 racing laps to 68 racing laps. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so eventually they got his car off the grid and they were able to start the race. But that was really unfortunate for him. He had a strong weekend before that.
Yeah, it was disappointing for him.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah,
it to say for him. And then we have Liam Lawson.
Go Liam.
Yeah, finished P7. He inherited a position after Lindblad was unable to start. So yeah, I mean, in the closing laps of the race, he had to defend hard against Pierre Gasly for P7, but he held on to it. Yeah, and he was able to fight back, got his elbows out a little bit. So just good result, solid result for Liam.
Yeah,
happy for him.
Happy for him too.
Yeah.
Good job, Liam.
Fun fact, Racing Bulls moved up to P6 in the Constructors' Championship.
Yeah, and that's just with one car.
Yeah.
In the GP anyway. I don't know where Lindblad was in the he was 8th in the sprint. So
minimal points, but yeah.
Good for Racing Bulls.
Okay, let's talk about someone else, some other people that had rough weekends. So we've got Williams. We'll start with Alex Albon. He had a DNF. Alex had the worst weekend ever. I mean, he just had problem after problem. He had an issue in
he hit
practice.
A groundhog or something?
Yeah, he had an incident with wildlife.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? We are at the pinnacle of technology right now with these cars. Red Bull put someone in space once and they just jumped out. Okay, and they landed back on Earth. Like, we as humans are so technologically advanced,
but we can't keep out the groundhogs.
But if we hit a groundhog, it's done.
Yeah,
we can't fix it quickly. Like, we're just fucked. And I'm like, see, guys, nature still wins.
Yes, and I felt so bad for Alex because he's known to be like an animal lover. Like, he has a crap ton of pets and stuff too, and so I feel like that's especially traumatizing for him to hit a groundhog.
I think he said he was like, my mom's gonna be mad at me.
Yeah, so he hit the wildlife in practice, and then he just had a really rough weekend, was not doing well. And, he had contact with Piastri during the main race that damaged the car and wasn't able to continue after that.
Yeah, first of all, what the fuck was that? What the fuck? Where was Piastri going?
I don't know if like one of the cars if they slowed down and he wasn't anticipating it or what happened, but he literally went straight into his side.
He T-boned him.
Literally.
I was like,
what happened there?
I was that was horrible for Alex.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel like after every sort of phase of the race weekend, Alex was just like, we're going to try to put it behind us and keep it pushing, and we're going to reset for this next step. And he kept trying, and he just kept getting fucked.
Yeah, he's like, you know what? I'm done with this shit.
Yeah, so he's basically just like, we're just moving on to Monaco.
Now. I'm done.
So our other Williams driver, Carlos Sainz, finished P9. He started on intermediates, but the gamble did not pay off. He was one of like 3 cars that started on intermediates.
Him and McLaren.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody else did or not.
Yeah. And after switching to mediums, his second stint was much stronger in the main race. He recovered well from the early stop and finished P9. He said Williams is building momentum, but still needs more pace to fight regularly in the top 8.
Yeah.
So, Williams is struggling. They had a struggle bus sort of weekend. But optimistic. Let's just put it behind us and move forward.
Let's just move on.
Yeah. Now we're going to talk about Haas.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Just immediately going to say the word disappointment. Like, really expected more from them, considering they were supposed to be like the top midfield team. Don't really understand what's going on here.
Oliver Behrman finished P10, had an eventful race after starting on the soft tires. He was in the middle of the midfield fights and avoided the Piastri-Albon incident.
Yeah.
A lockup looked like it could cost him points, but he recovered and finished P10. He said the weekend was challenging overall, but Haas will still take the point after missing out on points in other races. Then we've got Esteban Ocon.
Oh, he had going into the weekend, by the way, let me put some context here. Going into the weekend, there was a lot of reports that Esteban Ocon may be replaced at Haas, maybe even mid-season. And there was also speculation that him and Esteban and Amayo had an altercation of sorts in Miami.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was reading that, I will say, I don't know that anybody talked about where they got the story from, who the source was, or anything like that, but every publication ran with it. And that was the story going into the weekend for Esteban. He was very much like, I'm not going anywhere. And Komatsu, the team principal, was like pissed because he's like,
this is like a fabrication, basically.
Yeah.
He's like, this didn't
and
happen.
he was cursing a storm about it too.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, why is nobody fact checking? Why is this journalism?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
which rightfully so.
He's like, how is this? Whatever one person says something that we can't even verify who said it,
mm-hmm.
and that's the story going into it. He was like, it's bullshit.
Yeah,
and so that was something that happened to Haas over the weekend, and I was like, okay,
yeah,
interesting.
So Esteban Ocon finished P14. He had a tough race. Struggled with braking and lockups throughout the whole thing, which I feel like there were a bunch of lockups.
A lot of people were locking up,
I mean, it may be because the tire temperature issue that we had because it was colder in Canada, but also the like dampness of the track. But there was also a dusty track, so there was a lot.
There was a lot, yeah. It was a lot to try to probably manage and deal with, especially because literally every other session was like way warmer, and then you get to Sunday and it's damp. The tire temps were difficult to manage.
So basically nothing to report about Esteban's performance from the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think this is a continuing trend of us being sort of like, when's Esteban going to do something? When is something going to happen? I'm kind of, he keeps getting outperformed by Ollie Behrman, his younger teammate. And I'm like, I know Esteban has it within him. I've seen him have good race weekends.
He's a Grand Prix winner.
Yeah. I'm not seeing that right now.
Mm-hmm.
And to finish 4 places behind your teammate who's only in his second season in Formula One. And it's not just like it's this one race. It's consistently being outperformed by your teammate. I expect more from Esteban. So this is kind of like continually being let down.
Yeah, I agree.
Speaking of disappointing weekends.
Big womp womp.
Do we even want to talk about McLaren?
Next.
I mean, literally, what were we doing? What even was happening?
Yeah, honestly, I was pissed because here's the thing. I actually, throughout this season, I'm rooting for Lando a little bit because I feel like people talk so much shit about him. People are so quick. The change up is real quick with these folk. And I feel like Lando's been carrying himself like a world champion. His approach seems different. His responses are really measured. And it feels very mature. Mm-hmm. And to me, like McLaren, everybody talks so much shit about strategy. How'd you fuck that up? How?
Started both their drivers on inters.
Like, what weather report did they get that the whole rest of the grid just didn't? Like, at what point? And my thing is, why the gamble? Because of where you qualified. What was the point in the gamble? For those who don't know what we're talking about, they started it on inters, and it was them and Carlos Sainz.
Yeah. And
even though Lando got a great start, which we'll get into, I'm sorry, I'm jumping ahead. It was just it just pissed me off.
Yeah. For those who may not know, so the tires, there's the slicks, which are the hard, medium, softs. They also have full wet tires, which they would use if it's like downpour raining and like standing water, which they hardly ever use full wets because they suck.
Flashback to fucking Canada 2 years ago when the Haas's had the wets on and they like gained every position possible in the first lap and then it didn't.
And then they were slow as soon as the rain stopped. And then you have the intermediate tire, which as the name implies is an intermediate between a slick tire and a full wet.
Yeah.
Which more often than not, if it's going to be raining for a sustained amount of time or wet track for a sustained amount of time, they'll probably use inters. For whatever reason, it was the 2 McLarens and then like, who was it? Carlos Sainz that were on inters.
And if anybody else did, don't remember.
Yeah. And, initially Lando got a great start off the line with those inters. I mean, we were just like screaming because he took that lead and was like but he couldn't really go anywhere with it. So, I mean, there was no world in which once he got the jump and got that lead that he was ever going to maintain it on the intermediates.
Mm-hmm.
So they called him into the pits to switch tires. And then, that jump start or that jump to the front at the start, it meant nothing.
It meant
Like
nothing.
it was just zeroed out, null and void
Yep.
due to them having to change tires. And then eventually Lando had a DNF because,
The suspected gearbox issue, yeah.
he had a reliability issue too.
But yeah, that led to Lando having a DNF, which was
I mean, I don't think his race was really going anywhere anyway.
no, it was
After
not.
having to pit so soon off of the inters. And then Oscar Piastri finished P11. Again, he also started on the intermediates, but they pitted him at the end of lap 1, which dropped him out of the top 10. And then while he was fighting Ollie Behrman, he locked up and hit Alex Albon, which ended Alex's race, like we talked
But
about.
that makes more sense as to why he hit Alex
Yeah.
then. Yeah, the lockup.
So the collision caused damage to his car, which forced a front wing change and came with a 10-second penalty, and Oscar, he was trying so hard to get into the points. He finished P11. He was trying so hard to just get that point, and he just couldn't make it happen. So
No, it was just not a good feeling for McLaren whatsoever. Super big disappointment after the success they had in Miami and showing that they're supposed to be in the front, because really they've been really unremarkable the whole season besides Miami. And once, I don't know. I don't
they
feel
had
like
a promising start to the weekend,
Yes.
which is even more frustrating because it's literally the only thing that caused the problem with the race is the tire choice that they started off with. Like that fucked everything.
Yeah, and I
that
mean-
strategy was awful.
Yeah, it was awful because I mean, even if Lando was going to have a gearbox issue or a suspected one, Oscar still could have been in the points. So it's just like I feel like everybody's having a hard time understanding why that even happened.
Moving on from that disappointment,
Yeah,
let's talk about Audi. So we had Nico Hulkenberg finishing P12.
intermediates.
Yeah. Oh, he also started intermediates. I felt like there was maybe like 5 or 6
Audi
cars.
did too. Oh, so both Audis did.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I
Okay.
feel like I remember
Yeah.
seeing 5 or 6 cars that had the eyes, the
yeah, 'cause
green
you
eyes.
see the green. Yeah.
Okay.
That makes more sense.
For those who don't know, the green eyes is when we were watching our stats screen on
Yeah.
our iPads for the race. When they show you the tire compounds and stuff that they're on, the intermediates, it's usually a letter and a color. So the intermediates are green eyes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so Nico Hulkenberg finished P12. Gabriel Bortoleto finished P13. Both started on intermediates, but also, had to pit early like everyone else did on the who started on the intermediates. That's pretty much it for Audi. That's where they finished.
Disappointing. Pretty much their whole race was shaped by the intermediate choice, and that's it. That's all there is to say.
Aston Martin, again, just disappointment after disappointment. So Aston Martin, we had a P15 finish for Lance Stroll. He started from the pit lane after battery and setup changes. Again, he struggled with tire temperature, grip, and straight line pace throughout the race. But yeah, Aston Martin just didn't have the pace. Fernando Alonso DNF'd both the sprint and the main race. In the main race, he had a strong opening few laps and briefly ran inside the top 10.
I remember we were like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
How'd you get up
he
there?
started on soft tires, which kind of, worked well initially. As the race settled, he dropped back once other people kind of got their tires going. And he retired on lap 24 because of a seat issue that made the car uncomfortable to drive.
I mean, at that point, I'm not going to be in the points.
Yeah.
So like, why am I going to be uncomfortable for
The whole time.
Like,
Which this is not the first time he's complained about basically being uncomfortable in the car in terms of like it hurting his body.
yeah,
He's complained about this before. So
fix it. Give the man some cushion.
I mean, for real, like, what are we doing? Why are we trying to hurt him in the car?
Like, why are you doing that?
I did see some people joking about how it feels like he lately is giving any excuse possible to not finish a race.
He's like, what's the point if I'm not going to be in the points?
He's like, I feel sick.
He goes, oh man, I'm done now.
Oh, I have a headache. Like, let's finish the race.
He goes, I can't do
Or
this.
let's just call it.
Yeah, let's just be done.
Yeah. So basically, disappointing weekend for Aston Martin too.
Yeah, nothing to note besides, like you said, disappointment.
And then on to Cadillac. We had Valtteri Bottas finishing at P16 and Sergio Perez had a DNF. Both started again on intermediates. We know that didn't work. And pretty much it. Sergio Perez's DNF was due to a front suspension failure.
First of all, he was going in the pits. It like exploded.
Yeah.
And we were like, what the heck?
I was like, did he hit something before that or what? And it looked like literally his car just went poof.
Yeah, we were like, hello?
Yeah, so that was weird.
Yeah, that was bizarre.
Yeah, but Perez did say that the team had made a big step forward and called it their most competitive weekend of the season so far.
Really?
Yeah, that's what it says here.
Okay. They know more than me. They were there. He goes, it was my most competitive race yet. I didn't finish it. My car exploded. It was great.
And that wraps up that segment.
Yeah. So all I know, go Lewis and Max and Kimi.
Yeah. So best and worst. Who's your driver of the day?
Lewis Hamilton all day, every day, but especially right now, especially for Canada. Also, another great moment, I'd have to shout out this person, is the marshal who ran onto the track, picked up some debris, and then just dive bombed face first back through the little hole in the fence. Acrobatic, amazing.
10 out of 10. No notes.
Honestly, loved it. We laughed so fucking hard. It was one of my favorite parts of the whole race because, like, the fact that they got it on camera. Thank God.
Yes, and there was no reason for him to do that.
No.
Like, he could have, like, most normal people, like, will grab, because there's a little hole cut out in the fence for people to get in and out quickly. And so he could have, like most people, you grab the top fence and then swing your legs in and go legs first. He went,
I'm like,
he was diving.
I'm like, did someone catch him? And then if you look in the back, the guy waving the yellow flag, he is waving it. They weren't
He's like,
playing.
wait, slow down.
Just thought that was funny. But yes, driver of the day for me, 100% Lewis Hamilton.
You know, I'll give my driver of the day to Franco Colapinto. That was a good surprise performance from him.
Yeah.
Finishing P6. You know, I'll give it to Franco.
Yeah, biggest letdown for me.
McLaren.
McLaren all day.
McLaren bungled it so hard. Everything they tried to do to fix it just made it worse. It felt like the wrong turn after wrong turn for both the drivers. We had a DNF. We have Oscar locking up and ramming Alex Albon, finishing his weekend, his race, ugh.
Yeah, to me, I'm like, McLaren all day. I also could see the argument for Mercedes and the issues with George Russell, because that was just super disappointing that a reliability issue really just ended that whole battle that was going on.
Yeah, we could have had 68 laps of that battle, and we only got about 30.
Yeah, so, I mean, disappointment for that. But yeah, I think my overall biggest, I would agree, is McLaren.
Yeah.
That was just not the vibe. We will get into our next race teaser. Round 6 of the Formula One season, the Louis Vuitton Grand Prix de Monaco. Oh, man, Monaco is going to be interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how these cars are a little bit smaller than last year. We know that the power units in these cars thrive when there's a lot of heavy braking zones, because that's when they charge up and stuff. And that's pretty much all Monaco is. It's a lot of curbs.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of curbs. I was reading, I have to
curbs.
Curbs.
With a V. You keep saying curb.
Curb.
I said V.
Okay. But I need to see, because you can't get on iRacing and drive Monaco to see what the braking zones are. There's not a lot of straights. Mm-hmm. I don't know how heavy the braking zones are versus there just being a lot of twisty turnies. So I do feel like, I don't know, somebody was talking to Lewis at the press conference or the post-race press conference. He's like, could be something for Ferrari, because Mercedes is sort of losing that straight line speed advantage. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe this will be Charles's thing.
He's Mr. Saturday. He's a great qualifier. He's won at Monaco before. He typically does I won't say he typically does well. He has had the Monaco curse put upon him where he does well and then some tragedy happens.
But he broke it.
Yeah, he did break the Monaco curse. So
yeah,
we'll see if Charles can bounce back in Monaco after this weekend.
So we will talk about Monaco a little bit. So last year, the GP result, it was Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc, and Oscar Piastri. Some track stats. The first GP was held in 1950. It is 78 laps long. The circuit length is 3.337 kilometers, which is about 2.073 miles. The race distance is 260.286 kilometers, which is about 161.734 miles. The race lap record is held by Lewis Hamilton, which he set in 2021 at 1 minute and 12.909 seconds. And the qualifying lap record is held by Lando Norris, which he set in 2025 at 1 minute and 9.954 seconds. So what is Monaco like? It is an incredibly narrow, iconic street circuit where precision matters more than almost anywhere else. Drivers have to be millimeter perfect through the tight barriers, because if you make a mistake, you're in the wall. It's done.
Yes. And also, it's really, once you do make a mistake, if you are in the wall, it's very hard to clear
Red flag.
The track. It's like essentially red flag because it's so narrow that it takes a minute to, and it's not easily accessible, which they do have cranes. It's so funny to see. They have cranes set up at certain places along the track to help make it easier to just like go over the barrier, drop and get in the car and lift it.
Which during the ground effect era, people hated because nobody wanted anybody to see what their floor looked like.
Yeah.
So they're like, no. So you'd have photographers trying so hard to get under there, like Red Bull photographers or whatever photographers. But yeah, it's rough. So the tire compounds and the strategy at Monaco. So Monaco will be using the C3, the C4, and the C5 compounds. Something to note, the mandatory two-stop rule used in 2025 was dropped after teams like Racing Bulls and Williams used slowdown tactics to create pit stop gaps to help their teammates essentially. So
yeah, you would have one teammate who typically the one who's like further back would drive a little bit slower to hold up the rest of the field behind them and create a gap for their teammates so that they could pit and still get back out in front and not lose track position.
Yeah, and a lot of drivers were very upset with how it all went down, and so they just scrapped it. So strategy is back to the normal Monaco focus, which is qualifying well, managing the tires, and timing your pit stop carefully. Now, can we overtake? No, not really. Barely. I mean, you'd have to maybe into the tunnel?
Yeah, there's like maybe one or two places you could overtake if the conditions are perfect for you to execute an overtake.
But you have to be very brave and like
patient to wait for your moment to strike. Because again, if you get it wrong, you could end up in the wall.
Yeah, so I would not expect to see a lot of overtaking in Monaco. So how suited is Monaco for the 2026 regulations? Monaco should suit the smaller, lighter 2026 cars in terms of agility, but the racing challenge remains the same. Overtaking is still going to be extremely difficult. I mean, no matter how much smaller these cars are than last year, they're still way bigger than they were back in the Senna era. And even then, I would still think overtaking back then was still difficult. Like, it's just a narrow circuit. The new active aero and energy deployment tools may help on some circuits, but Monaco doesn't have a lot of long straights or really a lot of heavy braking zones. So qualifying and pit timing are going to be, that's just going to be what it is. That's just basically what Monaco is. Yeah. Whoever's going to qualify the best is going to be who wins, unless like they wreck or they get wrecked.
I don't know. Talk to Charles Leclerc and his streak of his Monaco curse until he won. Where he would qualify in pole and some tragedy would happen and then he wouldn't win.
He broke it.
I know. I'm just not over it. Okay?
I'm not
over it.
Well, I don't know. Here's to hoping that Ferrari has a great Monaco race. I would love to see I want to see both Ferraris on that podium. Obviously, I want Lewis to win, but I just want to see both boys in red up there.
That'd be great.
It would be amazing. And we throw Max up there. It'd be the perfect podium ever. Yeah. For me. So that wraps it up. If you love us or if you don't love us, either way.
Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, no matter what.
However you feel.
But please like, comment, subscribe. We love the attention. We always try to give it back. And we will talk at you next time.
Bye.
Bye.